Hi, Internet family. Today I'm going to talk to you about keeping a pure heart. And this doesn't mean being naive, and it doesn't mean being a spiritual bypasser or having toxic positivity where you refuse to admit when anything's wrong and never deal with your issues. What it does mean is to allow yourself to really work through any issues you have and come out the other side of them. One of the things that people say to me often, and I've been doing longevity and health practices for about 15 years. And now often when people find out my age, they're surprised. They say, "Oh, well, how do you stay so young?" And for those of y'all who might not know me, my name is Charis. I'm a wellness advisor and a spiritual teacher, and I have masters in health and psychology. I've been doing this work for about 20 years now, and I'm also a Reiki master and teacher. Anyways, oh, and I'm 41. Okay. So when people say, "Oh, how are you so young?" Yes, there's nutrition and energy work and exercise, but one of the things that I found to be really true about staying, I'm just going to say eternal, because there's not some perfect age that you should be at. It's just healthy and glowing and clear, is healing and keeping a pure heart and not letting oneself get jaded and spiteful inside. Something that I've found to also be true about this is the fear that if you do keep a pure heart, if you do choose to keep light inside of you rather than being someone who wishes ill will on others or who talks bad about people to make yourself feel better, or even who thinks bad things about people if they make you feel insecure or whatever, and also who genuinely wants good for others, genuinely is a giver, what I found is that ends up having so many benefits. And that's really what ends up keeping you young, in my opinion. I've noticed that times where I've seen myself age and then I've cleansed it back out of myself are after big heartbreaks, either big tragedies that broke my heart, like the death of someone that I love, or smaller but still devastating heartbreaks like betrayal in romance or abandonment or exile from a group of friends, or I don't know, being taken advantage of. And what I've noticed is, for instance, after a bad breakup I had several years ago, I noticed that I had gotten some new smile lines around the corner of my eyes, not all of which I mind. Some of them I think look like wing liner, and I think that's cool. I like to keep those. Same as the wisdom threads in my hair, the few bits of grays that I have that are actually sparkly silvery, and I think they're great. I have no problem with them at all. Anyway, I noticed that the bitterness, the feeling of, "Oh, I see how it is, I see how it is," puts those marks on you. And how it is, there's no such thing as how it is. We live in a million different worlds at any given time. If our new internet here over the past decade or two has shown us anything, it's that there are many different worlds being lived inside this one world of Earth, given where you are, what you're doing, what you're around, what you cultivate, what you pay attention to, feed, and help it grow. And so, as I then healed and also healed inside my body, the purity of heart is what kept my life force flowing through my body and allowing me to stay flexible and caring and generally happy within my own life. And that takes work. It didn't just happen that way, but also distancing myself from people who maybe aren't so kind, or who maybe do some spiritual bypassing, because shoving things down that are wrong and just refusing to look at the ugly stuff does not help you keep a pure heart. It actually, you're poisoning yourself. It helps you poison yourself and put stuff down deep inside that you're eventually going to have to deal with and take back out and look at. So how to keep a pure heart: one, heal. And I'm not saying that you should forgive people who did wrong to you. I know a lot of people teach forgiveness, and there are two different ways to forgive. One is internally, and that's important to say, "I forgive you and I forgive me," just in your own mind. Like, I want the best for such and such. I want them to have a good life, but they can't have any access to me anymore. Forgiving someone doesn't mean blinding yourself to the fact that maybe you are a precious thing, and maybe they don't know how to handle precious things, or maybe you're strong and that means people don't treat you with care, Or maybe you're just dealing with people who need to make someone else hurt in order for them to feel good about themselves. I've experienced all of those. And what ends up happening is, first, there's the pain that you have to work through. You can't just shove it away. Sometimes it's not safe to deal with it at the time. So it's okay to put it on pause and then bring it back out when it is safe. And then just eventually say, you know what? I forgive you and I forgive myself for allowing myself to be treated that way. Something that I've struggled with over and over in my life is allowing myself to be treated with less care than I deserve, just as a living, loving being, and allowing myself to overgive and underreceive, and to work and work and work and give and give and give and show up and show up and show up for people who don't do the same for me. And so when I forgive from those times, it's saying, okay, I forgive them. Hardly anyone means to do wrong by you. It's just they're working with what they've got. And sometimes, especially if you cultivate your light a lot, you may bring up the darkness in others. So forgiving them, and I forgive myself for thinking that I deserved that. I forgive myself for going back to that when I knew it wasn't good for me. Or I forgive myself for believing something that wasn't real, like someone was going to change when they were showing me no evidence of them changing, or blinding myself to the fact that I was giving more than I was receiving because I'm a good person. And so then training the people around me to expect that. All these things I've experienced, not all the time, not in every situation, but enough times to know that that's kind of my cross to bear in life, one of them. But at the end of the day, keeping a pure heart and genuinely wanting people to thrive and people to win, and wanting to live in a world where more and more people are healing and thriving. And we can do that, you guys. We live in a world that is moving forward in so many ways. And granted, so many things are coming out right now about horrible things happening or have happened. There are crazy things happening in nature right now, which in another video I'm going to talk to y'all about that. So stay tuned for that one. But that doesn't mean that your purity of heart should be compromised. The light inside of you is more important than ever. And so if you find it hard to let go of your critical thoughts, if the flavor of emotion inside your body feels yucky, you can do things to clear that. You can do things to ascend yourself and to lift yourself into a better space. Exercise, being in nature, affirmations, meditations. I know a lot of y'all who watch my stuff are Reiki healers, but it isn't enough to just be a healer. You also have to do Reiki. You can't just hold, it's like knowing how to exercise, but never actually exercising. Your muscles won't get strong if you just know how to do it. You have to actually do it. So please do the inner work, because even when it seems dark and you're crawling through, I've been there many times, and I'm sure I will be there again at some point on this life journey. Like, there are ups and downs the whole time. But genuinely cultivating an inner space where you really want healing to go in every direction and you want the best for people, it pays back in dividends. And also, one last thing I'll say here is there's also fear of being taken advantage of saying, geez, like, why did I do that? I don't want to be too kind. And I'm not saying giving necessarily. I'm not saying being taken advantage of as far as your resources go, whether they be physical resources or energetic, mental, spiritual resources. But why did I follow my heart in that situation and love somebody who I knew just by looking at their behavior was not going to be good to me because they couldn't, because they didn't have the capacity, something like that? At the end of the day, I'll say this: I have been there many times, and I've never regretted having too soft a heart after I healed. I have regretted it when I'm crying and betrayed and all alone again. And why does this keep happening to me? What is wrong with me? I always come with the best intentions. Why do people treat me so badly? Gosh, I was so stupid for doing that. That happens. But then eventually that wound in your psyche, in your inner self, it heals. And on the other side, you come out stronger, wiser. And at least for me, I'm not embarrassed to say I was too kind. I'm not embarrassed to say I had too soft a heart and I believed the good in people and I believed that they would try, even if they didn't end up trying. Or I believed that I was doing something to support someone because I loved them, even though in the end I ended up being taken advantage of. Or in the end, I kind of ended up being metaphorical, like sacrificial lamb for what someone else wanted to do. That's happened to me plenty. And look, here I am, and I'm fine. So you can survive a lot. And that doesn't mean go throw yourself into situations that are bad for you, but it does mean when you have those little moments inside to either follow the jaded, corrosive energy of all the dark side of what this stuff can be, or to focus on yourself and say, I can't control what anyone else does, but I can control what I do. And I'm going to choose to continue to be a good person. I'm going to choose to continue to look for the light and carry the light within me, because that's going to do me better in the end. That's going to provide for me a life that's worth living, because we can be in the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful of places and be having the worst time if inside it's not a good place to be. And also, if you want to be around people who like themselves and who like you and who are good to you, you have to work on that as well. You have to work on liking yourself. You have to work on being good to yourself and good to other people. And it's not something that our culture teaches us to do. We live in a culture that is hierarchical, which is not great. We live in a culture that shows us that some people have to lose in order for other people to win. And that simply doesn't have to be true, you guys. It has been, but that doesn't mean it has to be going forward. And we're the ones that are creating it now. If you live in a body right now, you have power to create what's around you to some extent. Not every single thing can we create, but a lot of it we can. And a lot of it can really benefit by you doing the work to clean yourself out on the inside, to heal from the things that have happened to you, to face the things that are inside of you, and then coming back to a space of love and coming back to a space of peace, and remembering that we are creators here. That is what humans were made for. Every scripture talks about it, no matter what religion you believe. So keeping a peaceful heart and keeping a pure heart, it's work, just like anything, but it's so worth it, because at the end of the day, you're the only one who lives inside your head and your body, and no one can change that for you but you. But if you choose to hold good inside of you, then that will come back to you from every angle sooner or later. And the things that you're investing in, the reality that you're investing in by the choices you make, even the small ones about what you're going to think about, will bless you back if you bless it by having a pure heart. I love you guys. Have a great day.